Hello. Hi, sweetie. I'm in Grand Marais. Grand Marais. So I'm at a restaurant in Grand Marais, and I think this is my last shot at Wi-Fi. Hi, I'm Ben. I've gone on long canoe trips in British Columbia and the Yukon, but my favorite canoe country is definitely the Quetico Provincial Park in Ontario. I'm permitted for 23 nights and 24 days. One limiting factor is the amount of food case to Lake Kawnipi. Also, if I'm honest, lots to be afraid of. A lot could go wrong on a long trip like this, especially a solo trip. Well, here we are, Hook Island of Lake Saginaw. The outfitter said that the ice came off the lake just 3 days ago. Humongous lake. This is Silver Falls. I want to show you something. I climbed down here to have a look at the falls. And then I climbed back up. Little spot to scramble up here. And I couldn't find the trail. This is not a minor trail. It's been a transportation route for 500 years. Many boots and moccasins, but I couldn't find the trail. And it was blocked by this tree. So I had to saw it. What's a beaver going to do with a tree like that? Dead Man's Portage. Charmingly named Dead Man's Portage. Here's a moose track. Isn't this a strange red sun at maybe 6 in the afternoon? It was clear and hot all day, and then this strange bank of clouds rolled into the western sky. And you know, I think it's wood smoke from the wildfire that we saw. That was about 100 miles south of here, and if it's still burning today, the wind has been coming pretty hard straight from the south.
Good morning. Yesterday was a lovely day. Kind of a long day. That Silver Falls portage, ooh, that kicked my butt. With all those logs to saw out of the trail, I ended up covered in sap, but also covered in Voyageur glory for good canoeing etiquette.
You can see in the foreground a rock cairn that marks this.
Pretty good timing, actually. Just got the camp set up and had a bath, crawled in the hammock. I'm getting the first little pelting of rain, and been hearing distant thunder for a while, but now we've got some rolling overhead. It's very warm out. Quite peaceful, actually. I love the sound.
This is Sig Lake, named after the nature writer Sigurd Olsen. Morning on Sig Lake. Kind of a gloomy morning. There's the tail flap. cold day today. Fairly calm, totally overcast. Mid 40s with the temperature dropping this afternoon. And tomorrow should be flirting with freezing. It rained all night and quite a while this morning, so all the wood is wet, but there's lots of birch bark around here, and that stuff will start anytime. It's terrible. It's just awful. Snow in Quetico. I hung my food barrel, most of my fuel, most of my clothes, 2/3 of the gear in a tree and stripped down to the minimum. And now we're heading up the Devine Creek into a part of Quetico that's about 100 square kilometers. It has no portages, no established routes, and very little history of exploration. Woo! I've imagined this day many times when I would come back to the Devine Creek and try to go farther than I did last year. But somehow I never imagined that this would be the coldest morning that I've ever experienced in Quetico. According to the forecast, it's 31 degrees right now. And I believe it because the frost was shining on the sand and on the rocks and on the plants. And boy, this has been cold fingers work this morning getting out. My fingertips are numb and my toes are numb, and I hope that when I get working here that will fix itself. It's looking like a partially sunny day and the sun's on me now, so the temperature's got to improve. Insult to injury, I think I have to use my frozen fingers to put some sunscreen on my face. Devine Creek, baby. This kind of concerns me. Last year when I came and looked at this was a intact beaver dam with a lot of water gushing over the top of it.
Well, I was able to push through that little flowing area of the dam with just only wet up to my ankles, and this whole area was underwater when I came here last year. You can see the kind of dead trees with all the red-winged blackbirds singing in them. The creek's much lower here, but it's paddleable so far. Seen several beaver lodges already. This is a very heavy beaver area. Ready? And here we are at the end. And I can already see the next little obstruction ahead. Ramming speed! Oh! Woo-hoo-hoo! Okay, full bushwhacking gear, gloves, eye protection, saw. Okay, I made it through with the pack. And now I'm in the middle of it with the canoe. And it's going well, I would say. People who don't have experience with the boreal forest might have a hard time understanding why it's such a big deal, or such a daunting thing to get through a little patch of it where a path hasn't been cleared. But the forests are often very dense. Look at that, we can see water ahead. And conditions can be just nightmarish. Let's see. There we are. A stroll in the woods. I see the pack ahead.
You see the pool out there ahead of us, a few hundred feet, and down below us, this gorge with bubbling water. It's so hard this bushwhacking that sometimes I forget to stop and look at how pretty things are. We've just turned off of the Devine Creek, the main channel, and headed south into this little trickle tributary that appears to lead to the unnamed lake. Change of plans again. That little creek petered out about 10-15% of the way to the Mystery Lake. And it looked like it would be a long forest and swamp bushwhack from there. So I returned to the Devine main creek and followed it up to this little set of rapids here, where I believe we'll need to do another bushwhack. There we go. Welcome to Devine Lake. After I put you away this morning, I had another fine day of heavy bushwhacking and made it up to Fluker Lake, and beyond Fluker to Devine Lake, one of the most remote and isolated lakes in all of Quetico. It's got some really nice rock outcroppings, maybe a little hard to see. I should come down here again around sunset. Chilly day, but I couldn't be any more thrilled. I stopped on this rock hoping to bivouac. Of course, there are no campsites here. I thought maybe I could get my hammock up on a couple of these trees, but when I got looking around, I found a beaver trail back in the woods. In fact, I'll show you where it begins. You can tell it's a beaver trail because there's where they come in from the lake, and there are a bunch of beaver sticks floating right around there. But I followed the trail uphill a ways and found this spot with some nice mature trees for the hammock and a little more protection from the wind, but still a nice view of the lake filtered through the trees that I can see right from bed. A bald eagle over Devine Lake. Devine Lake! Oh, you know who might have heard that? No one! I got here this morning by walking up from my camp, following the beaver trail as far as I could to lost it in a marshy area, and then I skirted along the edge of the marsh, and then I climbed some exposed bedrock,
And I'm probably a couple hundred feet in elevation above the lake and maybe a quarter mile back in the woods. Not far. But this is one of those places where one can legitimately feel like maybe no one has ever been here before. And that if any human has been here ever, it was probably an indigenous person. And it may have been centuries ago or millennia. The water is very clear. Sometimes when the canoe shadows out the sun just right, I can see down 12, 15 feet at least. The water of Devine Lake has a slight brown tinge to it. Much like Kawnipi, actually. I think it tastes very good. Okay, I just pulled over a beaver dam on the way down the creek, but the stream is obstructed by logs and shallow mud for the first little ways here, so I'm going to carry for about 100 yards. Looking back upstream, you can see willows on top of the dam, and maybe you can see the higher water level. Okay, let's see. Right here. Start with a creek crossing. This is fairly unobstructed, but when I carried the pack across, a couple of times I stepped into water and mud up to my knees. And with the canoe, it's kind of hard to get extricated. I need to watch my footing. Here's one of the muddy spots. You try to stay very close to this rock. Here's the next little patch of creek. Kind of muddy and shallow. A few logs to get over, maybe right here. Yeah, a little bit there, yep. Okay, I can see the next dam coming. Oh, I'd like to see a moose. Here we are. Entering McVicker Lake. Gee, I just saw a turtle swimming about a foot underwater, and I went by too fast. I wish I'd reached out and tried to grab it. Of course, one needs to pause a moment to distinguish between a painted turtle and a snapper in that situation. Here's the end of McVicker Lake. Ahead. Log. Now we're into the first bit of creek after McVicker Lake. See how this rock has a little bit of kind of peach color at the bottom? From here you would think that was just a water line or something. But I'll show you some more of this rock a little bit further down the canyon. This section of the creek is wide and quite deep, almost like a long skinny lake. And yesterday I saw 2 eagles and an osprey. See this big snag right in front of us? The osprey landed right on the top of that snag. That goose jumped out of some rushes not 6 feet from my shoulder. It was buried down in the rushes and it jumped up. Oh, look at here's mate. No. Yes, there's mate. If I were mean, I'd go mucking about in those rushes for a nest. Because a big Canada goose sitting out in an island of rushes and then hopping up with all that squawking commotion and hopping up and then dumping down in the lake and kind of like trying to attract my attention. That thing was sitting on a nest. Remember talking about the pink or kind of peach colored rock? And here we are a little bit lower in the canyon, and look at that same colored rock. We've descended to 10 or 12 feet through several beaver dams, and now that pink strata of rock is really clear. I've got the canoe up here, and we're probably going to camp hereabouts tonight. It's about 1 in the afternoon. I think I can afford maybe a couple of hours for a little bushwhacking adventure. So far this is going great. I saw this really sharp scarp line on a topo map, and sure enough, look at this rock face. There's a sheer rock monolith here. Geez, 50 feet vertical. And otherwise, I mean, a fairly shallow, flat valley with birch and alder in it. And I think as long as I keep this rock on this side, I'm certainly not going to go over it. I think I'm going in the right direction. I'll walk a little bit and you'll see so far the going has been really good. It's fun being right on the wall, but I've also found a few moose trails, so I think they might use this little
this little valley. Still going good. Some animal had a meal of bird here. Oh, look at those little jaws. See the water ahead? I give you the third unnamed source lake of the Devine Creek system. We've got an internal debate going on right now. That was not a bad bushwhack at all, and it would not be too hard for me today, or better tomorrow, to bring a canoe in here and explore and camp on this lake. But I'm seriously short of food and GPS batteries. So we came from that end of the lake, that end of that bay, and you see there's rock outcroppings. We're standing in front of one here. A lot of evidence of beavers. That's been true everywhere in the Devine. Look at these big birch gnaws. I'm going to call this Lyall Lake, L-Y-L-E, in honor of my grandfather. I came up with a compromise with myself. Rather than bring everything over and camp here tonight and then need to go back in the morning before an otherwise long day, I came back with just the canoe. And that means I'll have 2 more crossings tonight, but not tomorrow. So, welcome to the tranquil waters of Lyall. I give you the Isle of Lyall. Boy, it's a big egg. I would think that would be bigger than a goose egg. I don't know. But maybe that's what it is here. I'll have to do some research. So in terms of goose eggs, we didn't come up goose eggs. Or we did come up goose eggs. I'll shut up now. I think Lyall maybe did a little better in that historic fire. It still has a lot of its big trees. Perhaps it was a loon's egg. Oh, loon of Lyall. Ahoy there. Good morning. This morning I walked back down into this ravine for the 5th time. And the reason is last night I just couldn't stop thinking how this sheer rock wall would be a natural place to find pictographs. And I thought, wouldn't that be something to find an undiscovered pictograph in Quetico? So I came back down here this morning and I'm just examining the wall. I'm not finding pictographs, but look at this. Look at how this tree is growing right next to the wall, all the way up. Here's our campsite on night 10. Our last night on the Devine Creek. Little bend in a meadow right at sunset. Chilly, cloudy night. And here we are under a tarp between 2 trees on a little island in the swamp. Lovely spot, actually. I have to show you this canyon. First bushwhack of the day, and we're on a rock, I don't know, 40 feet above the creek. Out this way you can see where we're headed, back to an open, navigable section of creek. Have to climb down there. Partial beaver dam ahead. Let's try it here. Ramming speed. Yep, far away. Here we're over. I think this is what it looks like when wolves dig into a beaver lodge. You can kind of see the chambers inside. Here are a couple more lodges, maybe more typically sized. This one's a good one. You can see the entrance to this second one. Haven't gotten there yet. Should be nearing the last beaver dam before Kawnipi Lake here. There it is, Kawnipi Lake. Now I wonder if our cache of food and fuel is still in place. There's the food barrel. Nice to be back on Big Lake Kawnipi. Nice to be back with all my stuff, chair, you know, a campsite with a fireplace and all the amenities. It's been a real Quetico day. It was overcast and chilly most of the day, kind of nice for traveling. And then sun came out a while ago, started to feel warm. And then we had a little rain, and I stuffed everything out of the tarp. And that was 20 minutes ago, and now the sun's out again. I'm a little unsure what to do next. I really like the Devine adventure. I haven't seen any people or any canoes or tents or smoke from a campfire or anything since leaving. This is day 11. First human sighting of the trip. Far ahead. Let's see if I can lose that fish. Fish on, I'm bumping into shore. Loud line out. Barely hooked. Well, pike. I'm gonna let him go if he'll let me do it. Goodbye, thank you. No, it's a pike. Can you see the rainbow in front of the trees? Look at that. Good morning. The decision's been taken for another bushwhack adventure. This time our objective is Swartman Lake. This morning I left the food barrel and the black pack back
hang from a tree. And now we're heading down McVicker Bay of Kawnipi Lake. I love McVicker Bay. On a map it looks all crinkly and crenellated, lots of little back bays. I hate to admit it, but that kind of influences the places I want to go. Look, there's a beaver jumping in the water. You see him? He'll surface here in a bit. Then I'm going to continue. McVicker Bay has only one portage that comes into it. That's from Lake. And we're past that now. So for the last few miles of the bay, there are no campsites and very little reason for anyone to come here unless they're just taking a day to explore. The objective is Swartman Lake, and that's a considerable series of bushwhacks. The first bushwhack in particular is almost 400 meters, longer than anything we did going up the Devine. As always with this kind of adventure, failure is a definite option. Straight ahead, I see the stream from Swartman coming down into the lake, and I can hear behind the bubbling, I can hear some loud rushing like some rapids or a waterfall. So I'm seeing this with two sets of eyes. One set says miserable bushwhack. Another set says, is this not paradise? There's a little pool in the creek. Retreat, low battery, retreat, retreat. Well, I walked all the way up that bushwhack to the next navigable little pothole up there. That was the longest bushwhack, and it pretty much followed what Google Earth suggested. It was about 400 meters. I can't say it was impossible, but oh man, would it have been a nightmare. I went up one side of the creek and back down the other side without any pack or anything, you know, just check it out. And oh man, it'd be hard work. And I don't know if the rest of the bushwhacks were similar. I probably could make Swartman by sundown, but oh man, I'd be spent. The other factor, which I have to say was probably decisive, is that the temperature in the creek now has risen to the point where the black flies have hatched. So this trip has been blissfully bug-free out here on the big cold lakes, and it wasn't even bad up the Devine. But now that the little creeks are getting warmer, they're starting to host the black fly hatch, and it wouldn't be like a bivouac up there would it be all that fun. So plan B, we're gonna do a little exploration of the crinkly bits of McVicker Bay today. Is that a turtle or a fish that's swim down there? No. Anyway, how's this for an adventure? I was just investigating some little crinkly back bays, and I saw this this creek. It's deep enough to paddle into, and I don't know, at least half a mile up this thing. Let's see where it leads. So this would appear to be the end of the line, but of course I'm going to investigate on foot. Well, I think this is where I turn back. This meadow. I walked maybe a third of a mile or something, probably just as far as I did at the Swartman bushwhack. This one's a little bit easier, although I don't know if you can see this, the black flies have found me. See some rain coming out of some of those clouds. Let's pick our way back down to the canoe. Just a gentle rain. Starting to dimple the creek. Just a quick look around our campsite as sunset nears. We're still down on McVicker Bay, still out away from the main traffic areas of Kawnipi. And I was looking for some trees to bivouac with the hammock. I saw up this hill, I saw this big stand of tall red pines poking up above the canopy, and had to climb the hill a little bit, but now the hammock's hanging between two of these giants, and we have a nice view of McVicker Bay. And over here you can see I used another one of those big pines to hang the food sack. Can you see it over there? Safe from bears. Good morning, beaver. pike. That's right. Spit it out. Thank you. Very good. Little pike. There he goes. I think a couple of pike catches were on camera today. The best fish I caught was a bass, although I let that one go. And this was a bass that I caught right off the shore here. On the menu for today, a little fishing exploration of McKenzie Lake. We'll take a long portage into McKenzie and explore around, do some fishing, maybe look for some pictographs. Caught a pike. He's not hooked in the mouth, he's hooked on the side. Maybe he'll unhook before I get him in, but I'm trying to be gentle. Beautiful fish, look at that. Smile for the internet. Little teeny pike. Have a nice day. There he goes.
There was a pair of trumpeter swans that came right over the boat as I was playing that pike. And they landed not far away, and then a third trumpeter came behind and landed a little ways away from the couple. And then one of the couple swam over toward the single. And this one that's talking is the one who's left behind. Now, as he this a suitor or? I think maybe the third swan might be the offspring. So here's the first one saying, "What's up, dear?" Now over here. Let's see, can I get the second and third swan both in the picture here?
McKenzie Lake tastes great.
Can you hear and see these insects? They're kind of mosquito-like, but they're not attacking me, but boy, there are a lot of them.
Whoop. Fish on, first fish off.
Massive vertical rock wall. Let's see, I don't see anything yet. Interesting orange markings near the bottom. There we go. They're a little bit faint. You see two canoes. These are canoes with people in them. We're looking at paintings of a canoe, of canoes from a canoe, and they must have been painted from a canoe. There's ferns growing in here.
I don't know if it's cool or gross, but can you see under the water, just a few inches under the water, there's kind of a greenish looking surface. I think it's a pollen layer.
Another rock wall has some more petroglyphs. Not petroglyphs, pictographs. I think petroglyphs are actually carved in the rock. It is.
What do we got here? got me wet. Lightly hooked. There you go. All these kind of smallish pike, but they're awful fun to catch. Neat fish. Thank you. Now, by the way, all these pike have signed releases, but no one should contact them at home or harass their families. Fish on. Tried to raise your perspective a little so you can see the water over the fishing pole holder. Whoa. This is a good solid initial hit. Seemed to stay down. I like that. Had the drag set real light. Still, this guy's, man, I need to stay on the bottom pretty well. Hoping for a bigger pike if it's a pike, or maybe a trout or a walleye. Yeah, lake trout. McKenzie Lake, come on, baby. Without a net, I really have to play these down pretty tired anyway. I think the fish lasted longer than the camera battery. Here's that lake trout. I think this will be the fish of the trip. A lake trout from McKenzie Lake. I'm going to dispatch him and clean him up right now. I don't even really like to put him on a stringer, but I just had to show him off. Well, I've crossed back over the portage. We're back
in Kawnipi Lake, McKenzie Bay of Kawnipi Lake. And I should just head back to camp. The wind's coming up a little bit. I should get on home and cook fish. But I heard a sound of a waterfall or rapids or rushing water. And this is where the creek comes from McKenzie down into Kawnipi. I can tell there's a little bit of current that I'm fighting against, and I can hear rushing water back in the woods. You hear it? Rock head. Okay, this does not make me a real fisherman, but yeah. Look at that. Oh! One cast, 1 second, 1 hit. Sorry, Lulu. A bass. They have a fairly soft mouth. Goodbye, thank you. I love all of the fish taken out of these waters, but trout is my favorite. Cup of tea, nearing sunset. I have to report I saw my had my second human sighting today. Just as I got back to the portage from McKenzie back into Kawnipi, I met a couple coming over the portage. Also YouTubers. Shout out to the Wonderfully Wild channel. I was a little bit frustrated because they reported as they came by the campsite here, they noticed my hammock in the tree, that they saw a moose swimming just right here. And one of my few disappointments of the trip so far is not having seen and been able to photograph any big animals like a moose or a bear. But we'll keep our eyes peeled. Okay, we made it all the way back down McKenzie Bay and picked up the food barrel, and now we're headed out Wawi Bay, another long bay of Kawnipi. Smile! I've got a couple of different pine cones. Don't ask me what kind. And then here's a twig with jack pine cones. Sorry, that's the same color as the background. You see how those cones they're like sealed up tight, so the seeds can't get out. So now I'm going to put that on the fire. Here's one of those jack pine cones after being in the fire. Just pop right open. Out come the seeds. Human sighting number 3 of the trip. That was cool, actually. A couple of young women working for the park were up the Wawi Egg River where we're going to go tomorrow, and they were installing songbird recording equipment. The Wawi Egg River is a really unique biological zone. I don't know if there's something different about the soil, but there are a lot of species that are there and nowhere else, and so they were assessing whether the songbird population is unique as well. I was complaining earlier about not seeing enough wildlife, you know, but here's some small wildlife that I've seen more days than not. This is the famous Ontario woodtick. And these guys, they don't seem shy at all. They've been finding me up the Devine Creek, but you know, every place I've been. They're really quite interesting. This one right now, he wants to hop in the fire. See ya. Good morning. Call me when the coffee's ready. There's a sandy beach ahead. The last permanent settlement of First Nations indigenous people inside Quetico was a group of Ojibwe or Chippewa. I think today they go by Anishinaabe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. The last permanent settlement was here at the tip of Wawi Bay, and I think most likely in the area behind this beach. About 50 people lived here year-round until the summer of 1920, I think. And before that, there would have been bark canoes on this beach, and maybe some kids and a dog or two running around, and maybe fish fillets smoking and drying over fires. The last winter that people lived here, there was a flu epidemic, a world flu epidemic, the Spanish flu. And many people here got sick with that. And the situation was dire enough that winter that the leader, known as Chief Blackstone, decided to snowshoe, he and his wife, about 50 miles over frozen lakes to the town of Winton, Minnesota, in order to contact the Canadian government for help.
On the way back from this mission to contact the government successfully, Blackstone died of an apparent heart attack or something similar while snowshoeing north on Agnes Lake, and his wife protected the body from scavengers and returned to the village here. And that summer the Canadian government relocated the people out of Quetico, but not long after a party returned with Blackstone's body to bury him here near the village site. Okay, just as we were entering the Wawi Egg River, I made a cast I thought might come up with a bass in the shallows. First walleye of the trip. Little one. Thank you, Blackstone. Now, does that tree look like it belongs in boreal forest? I saw something back in the woods and I stopped to investigate. And the question for me now is, how big and strong an animal would you have to be actually to where it became useful and even adaptive to always wear a pair of these on your head? It's about 20 pounds or so. Oh yeah, it's handy as a snow shovel and, you know, for goring the occasional wolf. The girls love them. Tempting to take that home. Not really.
Rapids ahead. So we're approaching the first of 3 portages of the day. I think I will pack you away.
Welcome to crystal clear Mac Lake. The air is not crystal clear tonight though. Some haze blowing through from a wildfire in the area. It's quite windy now, so I'm kind of hoping the wind might blow this away overnight. Tomorrow we're going to sit tight. I think it's a laundry day, maybe do some fishing. Dinner is cheesy beef enchilada bowl. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm having a nice, relaxed, slow-paced day here on Mac Lake. It's very sunny, quite windy. The smoke was pretty thick at sunset and even at 6 a.m. when I got up, thick enough so I could feel it stinging my eyes a little bit, but the breeze is blowing that away and we're getting a nice blue day. I made pancakes for breakfast. The fact that I didn't bother to photograph them will give you a pretty good idea how fantastic they did not look, but they tasted good. It was a nice change of pace. And I'm doing laundry. Some people will guffaw at the idea of doing laundry on a solo canoe trip. I know a lot of people have the idea that wilderness travel is all about getting filthy dirty and not caring about it. But I just want to point out that wild animals are pretty clean, and they go to quite a lot of trouble to stay clean for very good reasons. Dirty feathers don't fly very well, matted fur doesn't keep you warm at night. And I don't carry many clothes, but I do keep my night clothes and day clothes separate. And I take a bath, even just a sponge bath, every day before I put on the
the night clothes, and it keeps my bedding clean, gives me a chance to check for wood ticks. If I do things right, you know, I'll be just as clean on day 20 as I was on day 3, and at the end of this trip I could pick up food and fuel and head out for another 20 days and be none the worse for wear. Oh yeah. Nice walleye from Mac Lake. Show and tell. Thank you. Red sky in the morning. Sailor is adorable. Lovely calm morning. Travel day today, starting with a medium long paddle on Mac and a medium long portage into Monroe Lake. And then we've got a shorter paddle and a shorter portage into Cullen Lake, where we'll look for our campsite. Over a very still Monroe Lake. I think I said this morning that we were going to go to Cullen Lake. And this is just a good looking campsite, and mostly I screwed up. I started the portage into Monroe and followed a moose track down a stream, down along a stream instead of following the right portage trail. And I wound up portaging the canoe and the food barrel and the heavy pack, all, 700 meters. I couldn't believe the portage was that bad. I was kind of following moose tracks and thinking, boy, the winter has been bad. They need to get a maintenance crew out here. So I worked my butt off to get all that stuff across,
And then I was paddling down the stream going, where's Monroe Lake? You know, finally pulled out the map and looked a little closer and said, I'm on that little stream. So, you know, had to bushwhack everything back to where I started and then do the portage over Monroe. Only made it about 3 times as hard as it had to be. So I worked plenty hard to get a plenty short distance today. Anyway, good night. See you in the morning.
The pollen that has covered the lakes has also covered the tarp. But we have a couple of rain days in the forecast, so that'll take care of itself. I think we'll move on to Cullen Lake today. Look at this poop that's got hair in it. I don't think that's bear scat. I think that's a carnivore like a lynx or a wolf. Well, apparently this is the weekend of screw-ups. I told you yesterday about my big foul up in following the wrong portage trail and how it like tripled the work of the day. Well, today I had 2 big screw-ups. I found a nice bivouac site and set up the tarp, but found that I was missing one of the tree straps for the hammock. And I immediately knew for a fact that it's still hanging on the tree back at Monroe Lake. I could probably make do with a piece of rope, but I'm gonna paddle back and portage back all the way to the campsite just to fetch that strap. And you know what? I don't even mind so much because heck, I'm out here to paddle and portage. Maybe we'll see some interesting sights or who knows what. But it's a lovely afternoon, and even if the wind switched so that it's against me on the way back, just as it was on the way here, I'm up for a couple of hours of paddling and portaging. And this time I'm bringing you along. And then there was screw up number 2. And that one hurts more. And I think I can't tell you about it until after I fix this one. So, let's go on a little 10-mile errand to go fetch a hammock strap, shall we? Well, here we are back at the bivouac site. Check out these massive white pines, a couple of them right here. So there's a little bit of a landing here, maybe some beaver trails that go back into the woods, and some kind of cool mushrooms on the ground here. And then it's a little bit funky walking around here. As I said, this is a bivouac, not an established camp site. Here's the one massive pine right next to where I've got my food. I always keep the food convenient, but a little ways away from where I'm gonna sleep because I don't need a frustrated bear banging around right next to my hammock.
chicken and dumplings tonight. And then I've got the tarp set down here. Actually, on a moose trail, I kicked a little moose poop aside. But had a place to leave things while I was going back to Monroe Lake, just in case. Just in case it rained. The forecast said it would not, but it's never a sure bet in Quetico. Hey, beaver. Here we are in the hammock. It's a little dark, but should do okay. I told you that I made 2 mistakes today. The one about leaving the hammock strap on the tree at the last campsite and having to go all the way back and get it. That was the little mistake. But then there was the other one. When we were leaving Monroe, I was taking my time fishing, going point to point. And when I rounded one point, I was just, maybe 70 yards away from a moose and her baby, just emerging from the lake and walking along the shoreline. The camera was right there. I turned it on. I aimed it at the moose. I couldn't see the monitor. I couldn't tell whether I was getting it in frame or not. I tore it off the tripod, and I should have just turned the canoe toward the moose, but I didn't know how much time I had. Instead, I took off my glasses and looked through the viewfinder, and I could see, despite my lousy vision, that I had both the cow and calf in frame. And, it might not have been that steady being handheld, but there were a good 4, 5, 10 seconds, several steps of good footage, I was sure. And I was so happy after that until I got into the camera to see the footage, and it wasn't there. It just looks like out of focus water or something. I don't know what happened. I'm terribly disappointed. I can't say I'm disappointed that I saw the moose. It was really a nice sighting. But I'm terribly disappointed that I wasn't able to share it with you. I've been worried that I'd see wildlife and not be quick enough with the camera. Anyway, sorry about that. Oh, this is the book I was trying to show you. It's kind of a dandy. Haven't read much Faulkner, but I'm enjoying this. I think I've got another half hour of light or so. Good night. Good morning, day 21. Having some bug out breakfast. Oatmeal with bananas and dried bananas and almonds, and strawberry granola with dried strawberries. Also, some of this Korean style sesame dried beef. Very delicious. Quick breakfast though. I'm wearing my bug shirt because along with June weather come June mosquitoes. The order of business today is right away a 1,200 meter portage from here to Ross Lake. 1,200 meters, I'm triple portaging, so that's 5 trips across, a total of 6,000 or 6 kilometers. With any loading and unloading time, boy, I think that could take me upwards of 3 hours just for the portage. And today's going to be a hot one. It's supposed to get close to 90 degrees, and there should be some big thunderstorm fireworks in the afternoon. So I definitely want to get an early start on that portage. It's pleasantly warm now. It's going to be more than pleasantly warm by the time I get done with that portage. Sun just rose at about 5 o'clock or so, and I want to get move on by 6 or so. This has been a long, as we knew it would be, but quite nice portage. No big barriers to the canoe yet. Great trees. Ooh, look at that one. And the roots to go with them. Look at the size of this fallen birch tree. I think that's what they made canoes out of, is trees like that. Okay. Very, very warm, unsettled weather. Feels like the world is just waiting for the big thunderstorms that are sure to be coming. A flight of geese came in real low over the treetops. They're all settled down in the bay now. Now on Bushwhack Lake, still in La Vérendrye Provincial Park. And since I think I'm either done with portaging for the day or maybe just have a couple of pullover kind of things, I've gone ahead and got the camera on the tripod and also got the fishing pole out, so we're dragging a lure. Little bit misty, little smoky, fully overcast. But a very pleasant day to be on the water. Human sighting number 4, if there's somebody attached to those canoes. After being hidden behind clouds all day, the sun popped out, and I thought maybe I'd take the opportunity to show you this view from our campsite. Quite a nice spot on elevated rock here on Sagnagons Lake. Here's the equally stunning view from the other side. Kind of like we're on this tall, spiny rock island. And so I'm going to try and make a little pan bread. That's not enough. Okay. Some palak paneer, some Indian spinach with cheese in it. Indian sog, and it's not quite a garlic naan, but that is very nice. The tarpon hammock are
down below between a couple of chunky trees. You can see that's like the skinny part of the island where the water is close on both sides, so I can see water both out the front and the back.
Tour of the hammock and views. Sunset with the sun reflected in the water back there, maybe a little dazzling. Trees and bushes out this side.
Lake and islands over here.
Better peek out there. Pardon the clutter. It's the maid's day off.
Good morning. Day 23 of a 24-day trip. Lake Sagnagons. And I've stayed out east here, the cost being that tomorrow to get home we'll have to go over one humdinger of a portage, over 2,000 meters. Longer even than the Death March portage that I did with my buddy Ned last year. But the advantage is we're still camped tonight at a place that is a solid day out and not on a main transportation route. Back in the 1950s when my dad was guiding here, Sagnagons was the lake he would come to if his crew wanted walleye fishing. So let's see if we catch any walleyes. Fish on. Oh! Fish off. Oh, fish behind. Can you see him? Can you see that pike? Oh, he's chasing the lure. He's still trying to get it. I'm watching him chase the lure here. He's still after it. I'm waving it back and forth. He's close to the canoe. I love a pike. Oh, I love a pike. Oh, don't get in the tree though. You know, watch those big teeth. That might be about the nicest pike I've taken so far. Not a huge one, but a nice looking pike. I think he deserves to be released for the fun of that. Oh, thank you. There he goes. You know, some fishermen kind of look askance at pike. They're a little more gullible maybe than most of the fish we're after. But, you know, pugnacious. Their meat is bony, but it tastes really good when it comes from clean water. But I just love them. They, that one followed my lure almost to the canoe.
No, took it quite a ways away from the canoe. I drag him in close to the canoe. He gets off the lure, which is easy to do because it's barbless. And does he run away? No. He's like, give me that. And he's right next to the canoe. He can see, I think he can see me. He can certainly see the hull of the canoe. And he's just like, give me that, give me that. I just keep swishing the lure back and forth. He's chasing it, looking at it. Eventually he catches up to it and clomps onto it again. Amazing. There are 4 otters. That just had their heads up over by this snag. They were right by that snag log right there, close to the shore. 4 heads up. Went to the end of a little hidden bay and, I don't know, maybe 100 meters up a little creek to as far as I could go. Then I beached the canoe and I'm gonna walk further along here. See where I can get. Trying to follow a moose trail now. Here we go. The going's got a little bit tougher. I'm in what I'd call kind of a flooded forest. There are a lot of holes full of water like this, and you're kind of walking on almost floating moss. Any step could be a plunge into water. Here we are, our destination. Unnamed lake up in the woods between 2 arms of Sagnagons. It wasn't a long walk in distance to get here, but oh my goodness, was it a tough one. I would not want to bring a canoe in here. But hey, we wanted bushwhack adventure. We got bushwhack adventure on day 23. There is a sight for sore eyes. And scratched hands and beat up ankles. Well, if the lake trout was the fish of the trip, this would be the runner-up. Big, thick-bodied walleye. That's a gorgeous fish. Just got done with that bushwhack. I was coming out of that bay. Decided since I'm in Lake Sagnagons, I probably ought to at least put a more of a walleye lure on. I put a deep diving Rapala. Sorry he's a little bit banged up there. I just had to put him out of his misery. But boy, that's the best walleye I've caught in quite some time. Final campfire of an amazing trip. Highlights for me. Wow, fabulous fishing. Number 1 has to be Devine Lake, getting up to Devine Lake and then also bushwhacking into Lyall Lake and bringing a canoe there. That was probably the top. But a lot of bushwhacking adventure, even today, getting into that little lake, smudge of a lake. I don't know, maybe call it Perspiration Lake or Folly Lake or something like that. And exploring some creeks off of the McVicker Bay. I really love day 15, going into McKenzie and seeing the pictographs and catching a nice lake trout. Going up the Wawi Egg, finding that moose antler. Stopping at the site of the Anishinaabe settlement. It was a pretty interesting day. Catching that walleye right in the mouth of the Wawi Egg.
seeing the moose and her calf. That was a highlight for me. I'm really sorry I didn't get that on film. I think I get an F for wildlife photography. It's sure been a trip with variety. Some really hot days, some sunshine, thunderstorms, snow. You know, a couple of nights that felt like hard frost. Let me read just a little bit from Sig Olson's book. The movement of a canoe is like a reed in the wind. Silence is part of it, and the sounds of lapping water, bird songs, and wind in the trees. It is part of the medium through which it floats, the sky, the water, the shores. A man is part of his canoe, and therefore part of all it knows. Always wear a pair of these on your head. The canoe gives a sense of unbounded range and freedom, unlimited movement and exploration such as a larger craft never knows. Sailboats, rowboats, launches, and cruisers are hobbled by their weight and size to the waters on which they are placed. Not so a canoe. It is as free as the wind itself, can go wherever fancy dictates. The canoe man can camp each night in a different place, explore out-of-the-way streams and their sources, find hidden corners where no one has ever been. No one! Good night. We're at this beaver dam. We leave Quetico Provincial Park for the last time, and then we'll paddle a little bit more in the barren tree before we get to Sagnaga and cross the international border to the United States. Well, that was a very long portage. The mosquitoes are swarming and singing the "So Long You're Gonna Miss Us" song. What a trip it's been. Just a fantastic one. And like every canoe trip I do in the Quetico, it just fills me with more ideas for more trips in the near future. I can hear my ride coming.